So after 3 years, I've decided to upgrade from an iPhone 6 to an iPhone 8. And as one does when you upgrade a cell phone, I've decided to change my case. The iPhone 6 was the first phone I ever used with a case, just because this thing is so slippery. And after maybe like an hour with this, I decided I had to get a case. For a few weeks, I kind of tossed around between cheap plastic cases and some rubbery ones and some silicone ones, and just nothing felt right. And finally, I went ahead and picked up this iPhone 6 leather case. This is it didn't really appeal to me at first. This was kind of expensive, and I didn't think I had to buy an Apple branded accessory. Felt like a little bit of a trap, but I finally did pick it up. I've been really happy with it. So I've used this thing for about 2.5 years now, and you could see it's like pretty much been like blackened from my hand and worn out from my pockets. I've dropped this thing countless times. The edges are all dark. The leather is starting to like wear through here. I don't know exactly what that is, whether it's the plastic coming through or what, but it's definitely starting to fall apart, and it has some really nasty gouges over here where it's fallen onto hard metal surfaces. But despite all that, the case has held up fine, and my phone, more importantly, has been great. No scratches, no cracks, works perfectly. So I have to say I've been really impressed with this case. And I'm sure I've been lucky, but part of being lucky is being prepared, and this phone has done that for me. So I went ahead, and when I got the 8, I picked up this iPhone 8 leather case, which is essentially the same thing that Apple started selling 3 years ago, with some slight modifications. So you can see the two next to each other. It's hard to tell, this one's so worn in, but I think the texture of the leather is roughly the same. Same with the embossed logo, no other writing or text or anything like that on it. The big change, obviously, is the aperture for the camera bump. Here it's pretty small, here it's much larger as that sort of camera aperture has gotten bigger. It's also been kind of moved down a little bit. So you can see that change there. Another noticeable change is that on the buttons on the side, here they're sort of made into the leather, which I thought was very sleek and just nice from a design standpoint, but made them hard to push and not very responsive. So you can never really tell if you push the button or not. You would just see the phone, the volume go up or down. So now the buttons have been changed into a plastic, which are much more distinctive. You could really feel where one stops and the other one starts. And when you push it, you could feel it being pushed much more clearly. See if we can't really see on the inside there. But they do work much better. The downside of this is you lose that sort of all leather exterior. So you have a little bit more of a friction point as it slides past things that I haven't found out to be a problem, but then it doesn't look quite as sleek. This was sort of made of one piece. Here you have multiple pieces in there. Everything else is pretty much the same that sort of suede interior, and the shape really hasn't changed. I think the 6 is maybe a hair thicker than the 8, or maybe the 8 is a hair thicker than the 6. I forget exactly which, but the phones are really similar, but the two cases are not interchangeable because of the larger camera bump on the 8. So far so good with this case. It's definitely not cheap, but I've been really happy with it so far. And again, after so much time with the 6 and the 6 leather case, seemed like a no-brainer to pick up the 8 leather case. I will say on the downside is that the leather does get a little bit scuffed up over time. Obviously, that's why I went with the black this time instead of the red. It definitely wears out at points. Again, if you drop it, you will get some nasty rips in it, but either of these would have definitely wrecked a phone. These things, the case is messed up for a reason. It is a little bit slippery, so that's worth noting if you have like drier hands. I have found this case, it's more grippy than the phone, but it's definitely not that grippy. It's definitely not like one of these rubbery outdoor type cases. So it's worth noting. I'd also say that the leather itself is nice, but it's not particularly high quality. It's like doesn't feel like a really high-end leather, which I've always found to be a good thing, because high-end leather, it scratches, it stains. If you get any oil on it, it just doesn't come out. But it does feel a little bit better in your hand. So even though this case is pretty expensive, there are much more expensive leather cases out there. So you're trading off some practicality for just the feel and the quality of the leather. And I think this one is at an ideal point between leather quality and just like usability. But I know some people have opted for more expensive leather cases, and you could spend, you know, 80, 100 bucks if you look around just a little bit, but it's more than I need, and just actually more than I want, just because I don't want to have to worry about the case. You know, the point is to protect the phone and move on. So yeah, this is the iPhone 8 leather case from Apple. I'm a big fan of the one from the 6, and so far I've been happy with the one from the 8. So definitely gets an endorsement from me. So thanks for watching.